What up, y'all? It's DJ Envy.
And I am Gia Casey.
And this is another edition of Pillow Talk with the KC crew.
Welcome.
Yes, we're back at it. This has been a couple of, these last couple of weeks have been crazy. I'm sure
Explain yourself.
I'm sure you guys have seen we have been in Disney for like the last 10 days.
Yes.
Took a little family vacation. It was actually the baby's birthdays.
Yes.
The 4-year-old and 5-year-old, Jackson and London, their birthdays.
Well, it wasn't their birthday. It was their birthday present. That was their birthday celebration.
Right.
So while we were on vacation, we celebrated every day as though it was their birthday.
Correct.
So every single time that we went out to eat, there was cupcakes or cakes brought to the table. They blew out candles maybe 7 or 8 times.
Absolutely.
We sang happy birthday to them 7 or 8 times. It was incredible for them.
But they had a great time. But we'll tell you about that in the regular podcast.
KC Crew podcast.
In the KC Crew podcast.
Yes.
We'll fill you in all the details. So if you're thinking of going to Disney or you're planning for Disney, we'll fill you in of everything that you need to do, need to know, where you need to go. All that will give you a full detail about the trip, what to stay away from, what to do, all that.
Yes, there's going to be a full-on Disney tutorial because I feel as though we learned everything that there is to know.
Well, not only Disney, because it's more than Disney.
Right.
Universal.
Disney, Universal. SeaWorld. Universal Studios Volcano Bay. We did
Gatorland.
Wild Florida.
We'll tell you all about that.
We did a whole bunch of stuff. Disney Springs, the town called Celebrations.
We'll explain it.
We'll talk about all of that.
And also, don't forget, shout out to everybody. We're doing our live show July 27th. There are less than 100 tickets left. So the tickets are flying. So definitely get your tickets. It's a Friday night. It's date night. I know a lot of you was like, hey, Envy, you always do it on a Monday. It's hard to get a babysitter. Well, we did it on a Friday. The venue holds more seating arrangements, so it can seat majority of you. So get your tickets now. And of course, after, we always do comedy. So this time, of course, we have Rick Michaels hosting, and we have
Major Hype. Yes, that was my request.
That's right.
That's who I wanted to perform because I follow him on Instagram and he is hysterical. And being, from Caribbean heritage, I find his humor particularly funny.
Right.
So can't wait to see him that night.
So he'll be doing comedy that night. So if you don't know, we do the podcast for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we take your questions for about 30 minutes, whatever questions you got, whether it's relationship, parent based, whatever you need, and then the comedians really take us out and take us home. So Major Hype will be doing the comedy set. And then again, the tickets, July 27th, Ticketmaster.com. Get your tickets right now, and hopefully we'll see you guys July 27th.
Yes.
So in some major news that just happened, LeBron James is joining the Lakers.
Wow.
He signed a 4-year, $154 million deal.
Wow.
Now, let's talk about this. People say he has no loyalty to his team. Well,
first of all, you're going to have to educate some of the females that, might have watched the finals, but don't know. Okay. So you said he signed a 4-year, $154 million contract.
Correct.
Do you have any idea what his last contract was?
He was making around the same. He's maxed out, so he makes between, I think, like $33 and $38 million a year. That's what he makes a year playing basketball.
Okay.
Now, if you don't know, he started off at the Cavaliers. He's from Ohio, so he started off in the Cavaliers. He played there for a couple years. Then he went to the Miami Heat.
Right.
When he went to the Miami Heat, Cleveland was devastated. Ohio was devastated. They pulled down his statue. They burnt his jersey. He played in Miami for a couple of years and then went back to Cleveland. And they loved him.
So they welcomed him with open arms.
Hell yeah, he's the best player in the NBA.
Of course.
So now he's decided to play with the Lakers. And people are pissed. They're saying this messes up his legacy. They compare him to Jordan and say, Jordan would never leave and this, that, and the other. And people are pissed off about it.
Well, tell me what you think about it.
At first, I was one of those heads that at first believed that, why would he leave? It's his legacy. He's supposed to...
What do you mean at first? We just found out like 12 minutes ago.
No, the first time he left. Because remember, he left at first.
Like you had all this time to be conflicted?
No, he left. Remember, he left at first and went to Miami.
Oh, okay.
And at first, people were saying, you did this, and I was feeling the same way, like your legacy. But then I thought about it, and I'm like, no, it's a different time in the NBA. Like, he's trying to win, and he's trying to beat teams, and he's trying to base his team to win a championship. And he knows with teams like the Warriors who are stacked, you have Steph Curry, you have Thompson, you have Durant, you have all the, like, it's a stacked team. Draymond Green, it's a stacked team, and he wants to win. And to win, I don't think he feels like his Cleveland team can win. I don't think he can pull enough pieces.
They've gone to the finals twice,
right,
and lost twice to the same team,
right. And you know, I feel like he's trying to create a team that will help him win, and I don't think he can win. He can win in Cleveland, and also I really think LeBron is planning for his future. And when I say planning for his future, he's heavily investing into TV and production. So he has a whole TV and production department that's based out of LA, where he's doing TV shows, he's doing movies, he's doing documentaries.
You mean producing?
He's producing. And I think that's where he's going. I mean, I think he's doing a 4-year contract. I think that's it for him after this 4 years. I think it's a wrap. I think that's it. He's going to retire in LA, and then he'll live in LA. His kids are, registered his kids in school in LA. And I think he's looking for his future, and I know Cleveland is mad and people are mad, but I think it's based on him. What do you think?
I think a couple of things. I'm going to say now what I thought when they lost the finals. That night when we're watching and they lost, I said to myself, I feel as though LeBron probably thinks or feels that all of his hard work is in vain.
Right.
Because in a sense, in a lot of ways, not completely, but one could argue that he's carrying his team.
He is. Not in a sense, he is.
I mean, I don't want to discredit.
The man got triple doubles.
I don't want to discredit any of the other players that are busting their ass on the court as well. I mean, he's like a superhuman.
Right.
So, in comparison, they may fall short, but that doesn't mean that they're not great in their own right. So,
correct.
I don't want to cut them short. So, like I said, some can argue that he's carrying the team, but he's one man. And, I guess there were people that watched the finals thinking that he can do it. He can do it. He might be able to pull it off. Hopefully he can pull it off. And then after losing 2 years in a row to the same team, maybe he's come to terms with the idea that he can't pull it off.
Right.
He's only a man, a superman in a sense, but, he can't do everything.
Right.
So I think that he's taking this opportunity to be selfish, and not in a bad way. I'm not saying selfish, insinuating that it's a negative thing, but selfish in the sense where, I played basketball since I was a tot, and my whole life, all I wanted to do was make it to the championships and win the championships. And looking out for Cleveland might be holding him and his dreams back.
Right, and he got Cleveland a chip. He got him a championship 3 years ago. So he did get a ring. He did get him a ring. So he did what he was supposed to do.
Right, but I think that he wants to continue to get rings.
Yes,
I think that he wants to. Yeah, I mean, maybe one isn't enough. Maybe at the level of his greatness, he feels as though he should be on top every year. Yeah. And I don't know that I can fault him for that.
All right. I mean,
like I said, selfish isn't always a bad thing. So I'm sure that the people of Cleveland will be or are livid, but sometimes people have to do things with their own best interest in mind.
Right. I wish LeBron the best, and I want him to continue to win.
But I don't know what you think. You sound like you're wrapping up.
No.
Do you think that it's a good thing that he switched over?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for himself.
The Lakers,
and I think with Magic Johnson at the helm, because Magic Johnson is the one that's running the Lakers right now. I think he's going to get the pieces and the necessary pieces, and I think with LeBron in LA, it brings a new found. I don't want to say a new found, but it brings the hype back to LA that hasn't been there since Kobe left a couple of years ago.
Who plays for LA right now? So who are the big players? And
nobody
who else
right now.
Are they anticipating?
Nobody really right now.
Okay,
just the kid Alonzo Ball. But I think people would rather play for the Lakers than play for Cleveland. I don't think anybody wants to go to Cleveland. So you think the Lakers
is going to get some more players to stack the deck?
Yeah, everybody wants to play for the Lakers.
But let me ask you this. Is it not strange that he made that decision before he saw how the team was already stacked? But I think doesn't he have the power to sit back and see how the chips fall and then decide where he wants to go? That's what I would do.
I think he does, but I think he also knows he has the power that when he goes, everybody will want to go. It's kind of like...
Is that the case? Because at the same time, you think about it, Do you want to be on a team where you play in someone's shadow the entire time?
Well, you're going to be playing, like, LeBron is the best player in the league.
Right, so maybe I don't want to be on his team.
So, I mean, but you
know what I mean?
But you also want to win a championship, and it's like, you know that you have to face, regardless, you're going to have to face Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Thompson. And you're going to need somebody that's going to be willing to play against them. And, you know, you could be the best player on the worst team, or you could be the second best and win a ring.
Same thing.
It all depends on how you look at it, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, I think
But you don't have to be on his team to be able to compete. I just think that a team needs to have the right players in the right positions.
That's true.
Like you look at Golden State.
The Warriors, yeah.
Excuse me?
They had the Warriors,
Yeah, they have Steph and they have Durant and they have, you know, everybody else that's amazing on that team. But it's stacked nicely, right. You know, like I don't think that any one of those players are better than LeBron, but together they beat LeBron. So as a player trying to decide what team that I want to be on, I might more so look at how the deck is stacked, not necessarily thinking that I have to play with LeBron in order to beat the Warriors.
Right. I just think with LeBron is he jumps on that Laker team. Everybody else that was thinking can just now decide I want to play with him. Like playing for the Lakers is kind of like playing for the Yankees in baseball. It's the best franchise in baseball. You want to play for the Yankees. You know what I mean?
So you think that the Lakers is the best franchise in basketball?
In basketball, yes. As far as people playing for them, yes. Absolutely.
What do you mean?
I mean, I think it's
I just haven't heard too much hype about
the Lakers
them.
is always one of those hype teams. It's like
I haven't heard anything about them recently in the past few years.
Well, I mean, Kobe's retired, but they're trying to rebuild, and they can rebuild with people like.
So you kind of mean like historically, not currently.
Yes. Yeah,
historically. Got it.
So I think it's one of those teams, and I think he'll get a lot of people to follow. And I don't know how he will hold up against the Warriors because the Warriors is still an amazing team, but I guess we'll just have to see.
Do you think people will support him?
There's a lot of LeBron lovers out there, you know, and I think they will follow him. Cleveland, no, but I even like LeBron. I want to see LeBron win. I'm a New York Knicks fan, but I want to see LeBron win.
So that's who you were rooting for?
Yeah, absolutely.
You were rooting for them and not Golden State?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, I was rooting for LeBron. I wanted LeBron to win.
We watched it together. I didn't really.
Yeah, and he's the underdog right now. Like people love to hate on him, and I love what he does for the league. I love what he does for the players. I love how he speaks out.
He's a crybaby to me.
He cries a little bit.
Like I don't know. When I watch them play, I just feel like he's complaining about everything.
But I also feel like
agitates me a little bit.
I also feel like because they look at him as the crybaby, or because they look at him as the villain, they don't necessarily give him the calls. Like it's like Floyd Mayweather. Like
I understand.
People want Floyd Mayweather to lose. You know what I mean? But he's the best, and he will continue to win. And that's how I look at LeBron. I think LeBron is the best. And I mean, when the man is scoring a triple-double, 40 points, 45 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists, and busting his ass out there and getting fucked up, getting fouled all the time, it's like, I get it. You know, I would be a crybaby too.
You would be a crybaby? Well, you
Absolutely.
Probably would be.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's move on.
All right, did you hear about Ty Dolla $ign?
No.
All right, well, Ty Dolla $ign was on a flight, and I guess he's allergic to dogs. Mm-hmm. So sitting behind him was a blind lady with her seeing eye dog.
Okay.
And Ty Dolla $ign tried to get the dog and the woman thrown off the plane.
Wow. He couldn't just have her like move to the back or
well,
move
they
to
tried
the front,
that.
or just
they
moved
tried
away
that
from him.
Well, they tried that. They said, Ty Dolla $ign, would you like to sit in the back of the plane? You know, because the dog was in the second row, and he was like, "No, I paid for my first class ticket."
Of course, and she was in first class too. Obviously,
I don't know if she was in first class.
If she was sitting right behind him, then she either had to be in first class or he was the last seat in first class, and she was in Delta Comfort.
Right. Well,
right behind there.
I don't think it was Delta. It was actually Air Canada. So,
well, then Air Canada Comfort, extra leg room. She had to be in one of those seats if she was sitting right behind him and he was in first class. Clearly, if he's in first class and he paid a first class ticket, he's not moving to the back of the plane. Well, I wouldn't move to the back of the plane.
That was the option. So, you know, the guy, I guess the
wait, they didn't offer to move her to the back of the plane?
No, and this is the reason why.
Why?
I guess, and I don't know because I don't have any allergies, but I guess when you take these planes and you take these flights, if you tell them beforehand, hey, I'm blind, I have a seeing eye dog, that when they put it in the system, that's how they put it in. And if Ty Dolla $ign would have said, hey, I'm allergic to dogs, don't have dogs on this plane.
That's not his job to tell them that he's
you do.
allergic to dogs.
You know, you absolutely do. Like sometimes, I don't know if you remember, like sometimes you take a plane and be like, hey, because of we have somebody on the flight that's allergic to nuts, we're not going to be serving any chocolate bars with nuts or serving any almonds and nuts.
I've never seen that, but that makes sense.
It happens as long as you tell people
that's given to everyone, and sometimes if you have a nut allergy, you can't be near nuts. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. So you think that he should have told when he made his flight reservation, you think that he should have made them aware
they have a little thing. They have any allergies, you put allergic to dog, and that they would make sure that there were no dogs close to him in the vicinity or no dogs on the plane.
Okay, so go ahead. That was their defense. Go ahead.
No, they didn't do that. So they would either you move to the back or
suffer.
Or you got to suffer. So he had to suffer on that flight.
Well, what was his allergy?
He's allergic to dogs.
No. I mean, what was his symptoms?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, if he's sneezing, it's not the world's worst thing. How long was the flight? Do you have any idea?
I'm not sure. It was a short flight. It wasn't a long flight. But it's
a 2-hour flight and you're sneezing. But like if you have a shellfish allergy, your throat closes up and you can break out into hives.
I think some people their throats close up a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't have any allergies, so I don't really know. But I'm aware of some symptoms, and I'm thinking that if he had a serious reaction to the dog, regardless of whether he made them aware or not, they should have accommodated the situation, and she should have been happy to accommodate the situation as well.
Well, they were in a sticky situation. She was like, I ain't moving. I made the phone call. I said I was having a dog on this flight, and he was like, I paid for a first class seat. I ain't moving to the back. So now you're in a sticky situation. What do you do?
The only reason why I think that both of them wouldn't want to move is if they were both in first class.
Maybe they were both in first class.
If they're both in first class.
She wasn't moving, he wasn't moving. So now he had to suffer.
All right. So that's how it ended?
Yeah, he suffered the whole flight.
All right. There you go. What's next?
I just thought it was funny that he has to blindly to get off the flight.
To get off the flight.
Or remove your dog. Look, Ma, you got to go. I got a show to catch. I got to get this money. I got to get this bag. This is the last flight out. You and me.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, let's close this podcast out, this show out with something sad that we didn't talk about because, like I said, we've been running around for the last 2 weeks. Now, a young man by the name of Lisandro Guzman Feliz, probably better known as Junior, was stabbed in the Bronx. Now, I know you guys have probably seen this video tons of times and over and over and over again. If you haven't, let me break it down. The video that we see is a young man running into a bodega. 5-6 kids running in behind him, dragging him out.
Hold on, 5-6 kids?
No, 5-6 men or 5-6 dudes, 5-6 people.
5-6 males, because they ranged in, from what I understand, age 14 to like 25, 26 something.
Mm-hmm. Dragged him out and was stabbing him and cutting him with knives, machetes, and all types of things. Repeatedly. He tried to run back in. They're saying allegedly that the bodega owners or somebody in the bodega told him to get out. A hospital was about 2-3 blocks away. He ran to the hospital and pretty much passed out and died in front of the hospital.
Right.
It was all over the news. Very sad. This hit very close to home because we have a 14-year-old.
Right.
We have boys, we have girls, we have kids. And to see this is just horrific. And then to find out that these guys
murdered him as a result of mistaken identity.
Which is very sad, And this goes a little deeper than, everybody, saying, oh, it's good for them, this, that, and yada, 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 because I believe they arrested 8 people that were involved with the situation. And, watching these 8 people go to court and getting their charges and them crying and this, that, and the other. And I feel bad for those 8 kids, for those 8 males. And I feel bad for Junior. I feel bad for the whole situation. Now, I'm going to break it down how I feel, and you tell me what you think.
Right. Don't judge him yet. Right. I know, because sitting here listening to you say that, and you're about to break down your thoughts and explain it.
Right.
But if I were listening, just hearing you intro by saying that, I would be tight. So I just want to make sure that everyone listening gives you a chance to explain, because I know why you feel that way.
Right. So now, now I'm looking at it from 3 different angles. One, I look at the young man, Junior. Rest in peace to Junior. And, listening to his mom speak on doing interviews and just speaking. She has so much courage, and it's just amazing that she has that much strength. But 15-year-old boy goes downstairs to the bodega, or goes downstairs and these guys are chasing him, and he runs into the bodega. The bodega owner doesn't necessarily help. Well,
first, before you go into that part, let's talk about the mistaken identity. Mm-hmm. I think that everybody pretty much knows the story, but there may be some listeners that don't. So let's just cover it briefly.
I'm not really sure, but this is what they've been saying. They've been saying that now he was murdered by a gang that's big in the Dominican Republic. I don't know the name of the gang. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it.
And they're big here.
Yeah, they're big here.
They're big here. It's a Dominican gang, I guess predominantly at least, and they're very, very big here.
Very, very big here. Now, allegedly, they're saying that one of the gang members' sisters had sex with a man, and another man was in the room taping it. And the man that was taping it, I guess, favored Junior a little bit, light skin, curly hair, and that's who they were trying to kill, allegedly.
Right.
Mistaken identity, they killed the young boy, the wrong boy. Junior runs into this bodega. I guess he sees the boys coming at him. He runs into the bodega. When he runs into the bodega owner doesn't necessarily protect him. Kind of get out of here. Mm-hmm. The guys run in and they drag him out.
Right.
People are mad at the bodega owner. They're trying to close the bodega because they're saying that the bodega owner didn't help. And I sat and I thought about this. And I thought about it hard. And I said, why wouldn't the bodega owner help?
Right.
If I owned a bodega, would I help? And I thought about it, and I said, okay, if I own a bodega in the Bronx, or if I own a bodega anywhere, and that area, there's a lot of crime in that area. The Bronx has one of the most crime-ridden places in New York right now. So that means if I help this young boy, and I don't know who this young boy is, if I don't know who he is.
Hold on, that's the thing.
If I know who the young boy is, and I know he's a good kid, I have to help him.
That's
because I know he's not into trouble, and I gotta protect him.
Right.
But if I don't know him, and
you know nothing of the situation,
I know nothing about him, and I know that this area is run by gangs, do I put myself to protect somebody I don't know, and then I become part of that? Meaning, because I protected him, do they shoot up the bodega every day? Do they stab me and rob me every day if I don't know?
Family?
Right, and mess with my family. But if I know this young boy who they say was a good boy, a happy boy, wanted to be a police officer, I gotta protect him. Even if it's worth my life. And I know that this kid is a good kid, I gotta protect this kid. Now, I don't know if the bodega owner knew the kid, if he didn't know the kid, but if he lived in the area, I'm assuming that he did.
That would be the assumption.
And if I know he's a good kid, it would be
the logical assumption, because from what I understand, and we're hearing the story the same way that everybody else is hearing the story, right? Uh-huh. But from what I understand, allegedly, a friend of his asked him to borrow $5.
Correct.
And he asked his mother if he could go downstairs to give his friend the money. And his mother said, okay. He went downstairs. He was spotted. They thought that he was someone else. They chased him. He ran into the bodega.
Right.
And then it all unfolded from there. Mm-hmm. If he just ran downstairs to the bodega, you would think, or in the vicinity of the bodega, you would think that it's in his neighborhood.
Correct.
And you would think that, I think it would be relatively safe to assume that he probably frequented that bodega. Mm-hmm. So I would think, to say the least, the bodega owners were familiar with him. But just because they're familiar, probably it doesn't mean that they knew whether he was a good kid or a bad kid or whatever. It might just be like, you go in there and you buy a Coke and a pack of gum and some lifesavers, and then you're out.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't necessarily think that it's fair to just jump to the conclusion, because when I saw the video, and just like everybody, like tears rolling down my face, and I'm sure most people can relate. That was one of the most heartbreaking things that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Absolutely.
So the conclusion that I jumped to immediately is, how could they not help him?
Right.
They just watched this happen. How could they not help him? But then, when you settle down a little bit and you get over your anger, you really have to put things in perspective. And I just think that people shouldn't be so quick to jump to conclusions. Let's just say, hypothetically, that Junior wasn't the amazing kid that we all learned that he is. You watch the videos of him dancing and playing around and joking around with his friends. And, clearly he was an amazing kid. But let's say that he wasn't. Let's say he was cut from the same cloth as one of the men that murdered him.
Correct.
And the whole debacle was a result of, one gang versus another gang,
right,
or, whatever. And the bodega owner said, you know what? I'm just going to steer clear of this.
Right.
Just everybody get out. Like, I'm locking my door. I have a family to get home to. Then people might not see it the same way. But because, we see all these videos and he's a great kid, he had nothing to do with gangs. And he was murdered. He was slaughtered outside of that bodega.
Right.
The first thing that you want to say is, hang the bodega owners.
Right.
Because that's how I felt. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I think that we just have to think a little bit more deeply about things and look at things from other perspectives so that we can have a better understanding of what may or may not have occurred.
Right.
But on the flip side, they may have known Junior. They may have been familiar with him. They may have known that he was a good kid and turned their backs on him anyway.
Right. And
all I'm saying is that we don't know.
But in that case, then, yeah, I understand the outrage. But I learned a long time ago, not everybody's built the same. And with that excuse, when I got robbed, right? Remember when the gunman came up to me and tried to rob me in the city? Mm-hmm. You said which time? I only got robbed one time.
Well, one time you got robbed. The second time was an attempted robbery. Right.
But when I was with 4 people when the robbery happened. I don't know if you remember. I was with 4 people when the robbery happened.
I don't remember that. I thought you were
when those guys came out.
Person.
When the guy came out with the guns to rob me, I was with 4 people. 2 people ran, and 1 person stayed by my side.
Okay, so this was this was how many years ago?
This might have been 15 years ago.
Yeah. No, maybe like 12, 13
maybe 12, 13 years
something
ago.
like that, right?
I don't know if you remember, but
is my memory that bad? Because I'm thinking if 2 people ran, we're not friendly with those 2 people. We must not be.
Well, let me explain to you. 2 people, it was 4 of us in the car, right? It was 4 of us walking to my car.
Approaching the car.
4 of us walking to my car. 2 guys came to rob me. 1 guy pulled out a gun and tried to rob me.
Right.
When the 4 people seen the guys trying to rob, 2 guys took off running back to the club.
I really need to pull this mic aside really quick. I need to know what 2 people you're talking about because
I'll tell you later. But
okay, and then so you mean it was you plus 3 people? And
it was me plus 3 people. Right, 2 people ran, and then it was me and Derek that stood there.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And when we chased the guys that robbed us. Just hold on a minute,
just really quick, just melt it.
You won't know who it is. I'd have to write it down.
Oh, I don't know who it. Okay,
you know who it is, but if I would have to tell you.
They're not friends of ours.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, but they used to come out with me a lot, frequently.
Okay, all right.
But anyway, people were mad at them. Like, I remember my friends were like, yo, we should go fuck them up. Like, yo, we should go beat them up. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't mad. And they was like, why you not mad? We should go fuck them up. They left you. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's not their character. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't really know you because I don't know who you're talking about, but I understand.
If you go out with somebody and there's 5 of y'all, right?
No, I understand what you're saying.
You know one person's not going to fight. So if they don't fight, you're not mad because you know that's not what they built for.
Right.
So I wasn't
mad.
They're not
cut from that cloth.
I wasn't mad because I knew they weren't cut from that cloth.
Right.
People were mad about, you should have. I know.
I understand what you're saying.
I expected them to do that. Mm-hmm. If they didn't, I would feel I'm like, he didn't. you know what I mean?
He didn't have my back.
You understand what I'm saying?
Then you'd be surprised. But if
that's how
if you don't have that expectation, then you're not surprised.
So I still see the person out. He still comes out. Mm-hmm. And I don't have any problem with him because I just know he's not built that way and I'm not mad at him. Okay, I've never been mad at him because I know he's not built like that. Mm-hmm. Like if it would have been, let's say, my manager June, and we got into a situation and June ran,
you'd be shocked.
I would be shocked and pissed, and I could probably never fuck with June again because we've been in tight situations where shit almost popped off 1,000,001 times, and I looked at him as a brother. I would fight for him, and I know he would fight for me. Mm-hmm. But those dudes I knew weren't going to fight, and I was cool with that.
Right.
So this bodega owner might be that type of dude. Like, everybody's not built like that. Everybody's not willing to take a bullet or confrontational. So I get it. I understand, and I'm not mad at him. I get it. If he's that type of person, he's that type of person.
To put it in perspective, realistically, if he would have tried to help, he probably would have wound up dead as well.
Maybe.
It's very likely.
Or he could have scared the guys off. You know what I mean? Maybe he would. That
doesn't sound like, we have to be realistic, right? Like, these were savages. These were animals. These were monsters. They weren't going to be scared off by the bodega owner.
But a lot of times...
He would have been grossly outnumbered. They would have attacked him as well. I think that is very, very safe to say.
But you and I both know a lot of people fold under pressure. Like, we've been in situations where...
Six males are not going to fold under pressure because the bodega owner said, get out of here and leave him alone. Come on, let's be realistic.
I guess you're
that
right.
is not... Like, we have to be realistic when you look at these situations. He probably would have ended up mortally wounded or dead as well.
Right, yeah. I mean...
That is realistic.
But for me personally,
let me just say...
I would have took that for that young man.
But that's what I'm saying. So you would have to take for granted that if he did that, that would have meant that he was willing to give up his life for another person. And...
That he might not know. He may not know well, or may not have known if he was a good person or not. Right.
You know what I mean? It's funny, when we were away, we were talking about sacrifices. We were with some friends and whatnot, and we were talking about sacrifices. Mm-hmm. I was actually talking to Mercedes, and we were discussing whether you would sell your pinky for $1 million or not. Most people in the conversation said yes, they would sell their pinky for $1 million. And I said, no, I wouldn't sell my pinky. I would keep it simply because it's a part of my body.
Right.
And it's not worth a monetary value for me. So the conversation evolved, and I said, I wouldn't sell my pinky for $1 million, but I would give a lung or a leg for someone if it meant that if they didn't have it, that they would die.
Right.
And I was asked, well, would you do that for a stranger? I said, I would do it for a stranger. The only thing that I would need to know is that they were a good person.
Right.
I wouldn't sacrifice my life or a part of my body for someone who didn't deserve it. Mm-hmm. You want to know that someone that you are giving to or sacrificing for is a good person.
Right.
So I'm saying all that to say that you would have to take for granted that the bodega owner knew that he was a good person and knew that he was worth him getting in the middle of and potentially risking his life.
Right.
So we don't know if he knew him well. We don't know if he knew him at all. We don't know if he was a complete stranger to Junior. All I'm saying is that a little bit of thought may be worth taking when trying to decide how the bodega owner winds up. Does he deserve to have his bodega closed down? Does he deserve to have it reopened? Do people, if it does reopen, should people patronize it, etc.?
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Right. And then I said something earlier about I feel bad for the 8 kids that were arrested.
Right. You have to explain that.
And the reason I feel bad was, and when we were out in Florida, because like I said, we were in Disney World, we were speaking to somebody who actually lived in the Bronx, that moved from the Bronx to Orlando. And she was telling me about the gangs, and she was like, the thing about this gang is, they prey on kids that really have nothing.
Right.
They prey on kids that don't necessarily have a father figure. They prey on kids that are broke and poor. Mm-hmm. They prey on kids that have low self-esteem. They prey on kids that need protection. So there was like a lot of these kids in this gang are not built like that. They are in this gang because they're scared. They said that, she was telling me that this gang would go up to high schools and middle schools
and try to recruit
the kids. They will look for kids that don't have a parent picking them up, and pretty much say, you know what, we'll protect you. Mm-hmm. We'll make sure you don't get beat up. We'll make sure you don't get robbed, but we need you one of us. Mm-hmm. And they prey on that.
We'll love you like a brother.
We'll love you like a brother.
We'll love you like we're your father.
And then when I seen these kids these kids getting, and when they were reading their charges, and one kid was crying and they have their heads down, I was like, I really don't think, and this is gonna sound so crazy, but these kids were doing something that they thought was a brotherhood, that they thought was cool to do. Mm-hmm. You look at a 14-year-old part of the gang and he's slicing and stabbing. Like, what does a 14-year-old kid know?
Right.
All he knows is, my friends are doing it, I'm going to do it too. And that just got him probably 25 years to life in prison.
But that's kind of simplifying, isn't it? I don't think that it's necessarily my friends are doing it, I'm going to do it too. A hit was put out on this kid.
Right.
A hit was put out on this person that the gang felt offended them. So they were out, and it was premeditated. I mean, literally, these kids are walking around.
Absolutely, yeah.
Kids, men, whatever they are. These males were walking around with machetes. Mm-hmm. So I think it's obvious that they're probably working with the mentality of brotherhood. Right. Not necessarily my friends are doing it. It's not like a peer pressure type thing, really. It's more so whoever in their gang was the brother of this female that was in the video, they probably figured that they're doing him a solid. They're looking out for him.
I don't even think they're doing him. I think they had to.
They're avenging that situation.
No, I think they had to. It wasn't like we're doing it. I think that was an order.
I don't really want to guess about whether it was an order or whether it was voluntarily, because either way, it doesn't really matter. It's part of the culture of being in a gang. If someone offends someone in the gang, we're going to get them.
Right.
We're brothers. We're a team. All for one for all. So whether they were made to do it or whether they did it of their own volition, I don't really know that matters.
But that's the mentality.
That's my
kids,
point.
Man.
It's the culture. It's the mentality, and it's kind of like a brainwashing.
It is. It's a brainwashing,
and that's where I think that you're coming from when you say that you feel bad for these young men. I mean,
might not
the
have
youngest 14
fathers or parents or a father figure.
Not so much for the ones in their 20s. I have to give that a little bit more thought and be realistic about how I feel about it, because maybe, as you come up in that culture, like your brain is completely washed and that's your reality, and that's your version of right and wrong. So maybe if you're groomed from a young boy, okay, maybe, yeah. I feel worse for the younger ones because it's like they don't even really have a chance to know right from wrong, because as soon as they're really starting to form that and become young men, that is already kind of taken from them, and that's the gang culture.
But you know what it is? They have no choice. You got to think about it like this.
Well, what do you mean they don't have any choice?
I'm explaining to you. I'm 14 years old, right?
You always have a choice.
I'm explaining it. I have no father, right? I'm 14-year-old. I'm walking home, and these older kids are bullying me, picking on me, or whatever, smacking me in the back of the head. And now they say,
this is a hypothetical situation.
Now they're saying, join this gang and you ain't got to worry about that. You one of us. We protect you. We're brothers. I don't have anybody to go to. I can't go to my mom. I can't tell, because if I tell, I'm going to get fucked up tomorrow. You see what I'm saying? There is no protection. There is no cop that's going to say, young man, I'll walk you home every day. So now it's almost like you're forced. If you don't move, you got to deal with this every day of your life going to school.
So that's like a hypothetical situation.
And I think that happens a lot.
Where it could be the situation, or it doesn't necessarily have to be a situation. I'm sure that that's the situation for many young men that join gangs, but I don't know if it was a situation for these people. These people just maybe wanted to be down, maybe had a cousin, a brother, an uncle, or something or someone that was in it, and they thought that was cool, or they saw the benefits of being in it. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want to assume why these men joined the gang, but it could be something along those lines. But I think that it's safe to say that it's definitely about brotherhood, being on a team and being protected.
Absolutely.
And I think part of it may be, just wanting to be cool, wanting to be down. And it all starts from weak-minded people, young men, because they very likely don't have a father figure or a strong father figure in their life, or they could have a father figure, they could have a strong father figure, or you might have a good man as a father who works a lot.
That's not there. You're right.
Isn't there.
You're right.
Because he's holding down the family and he's, you know, providing, and, you know, he might work around the clock. He might work a graveyard shift. When he's home in the day, he might be sleeping.
You're
so
right.
he might not be fathering in a way that a young man might need someone to father.
Because he's trying to provide.
Because he's trying to provide. It can be a whole array of situations, but for the young men that fall into that trap because they don't have leadership in their lives, that is sad.
It's very sad.
Let's not take away from the fact that there are young men that do have a father figure and just want to be cool,
right?
Want to be down, or may just be
right.
bad seeds. You're not talking about those people.
Not at all.
You're talking about the potential that maybe some of these young men who are involved may have fallen into a trap,
right?
In a sense, and that, I think, the whole world can agree that that's a sad situation.
Yeah, because I don't think a 14-year-old runs around trying to be a savage. I think
trying to be a savage, trying to be evil, and say, you know what, my goal in life is to be a murderer.
Yeah, I think he was following just the wrong people. Right. And you know what we have to do as people, and you know, and they always say it takes a village to raise a child. Mm-hmm. And we have to start when we see something or see something going wrong that's happening that's wrong. Mm-hmm. We have to start putting ourselves in that situation and trying to help those kids.
In what way?
Well, it's funny that you said that. They say in the Bronx, and I'm from Queens. I'm not even from the Bronx. I'm from Queens. They say that there's a lot of crime in the Bronx, and they say a lot of that crime is due to kids don't really have anything to do. There's nothing to do.
Yeah.
So,
but that's also the reason. Like my roommate in college. Well, okay, I shouldn't have said that. But not even her. But a lot of people that I know who came from small towns say that they started having sex at a young age because there was nothing to do.
Right.
So after school, they would go and hang out with each other, hang out in each other's basements, and have sex.
Right.
Like they had nothing to do. Like the sports programs might not have been strong. There may not have been boys and girls clubs or YMCAs or just other extracurricular after school programs or activities. So they either wound up getting in trouble or having sex.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to, well, we're not even going to try. We're going to start this Sunday. We started a Bronx Youth Basketball League, right? And that's this Sunday. Shout out to Scott LaRock. Mm-hmm. Remember Scott LaRock?
Boogie Down Productions.
Yeah, remember he died, but his son still lives in the Bronx, and his son is still doing things.
Oh, really? Uh-huh.
Yeah, so we teamed up with him in Top Pop, and we're gonna start basketball tournaments.
Okay.
So we're gonna start next Sunday. Ages
heard you talking about
12
that.
to 19.
Okay. So it's solidified?
Sunday. Yeah, solidified. This Sunday, July 8th, and we're gonna have basketball tournaments. We're gonna go out there. We're gonna give them free food, free sodas. Our registration is free. We're going to provide the refs, the basketballs, and we're going to start doing that more and more and more where kids have things to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to try to get a lot of celebrities out there so kids want to go. It's not like, I don't want to go. No, I want to go and see, whoever it is. So if you're from the Bronx and you listen, I want you to come on out and be a positive role model, man. Let's try to, it was heartbreaking to see this 15-year-old stabbed up like that, and killed. And he's a good kid. He wanted to be a police officer. He wanted to help his community. And if we can, help kids like that and help kids that are starting to go down the wrong road and maybe fix up, we got to do something because we can't let them continue to kill our children.
It's just, I don't know. It's just that situation for me was, I don't know. I think it's probably the toughest thing to digest as far as things that have happened in the news. Like that, I don't know. I think that like a lot of other people, it affected me in a way that I can't recall another story affecting me.
Yeah, it's sad and like we just got to do our best to make sure that doesn't happen again. That we make sure that never happens again. And we have to provide these kids with programs. We have to provide these kids with guidance. And we have to be great role models so they can see that there's life outside of what they see. That no gangs and no drug dealing and no, credit card scams and a lot of the stupid shit that we do, stealing. And, these things are marked on our life. And a lot of times, that's something that we can never get off.
Kids don't think about that, though.
No, but we have to start thinking, and we have to start making them feel that way and start looking at that.
I mean, it's a good thing that you just brought that up. I make sure that with Madison and Logan, from a very, very young age, I sat down and had repeated conversations with them about right and wrong, and using examples like stealing.
Mm-hmm.
And I drilled into their minds since, I don't know, maybe 5 years old. I think we started having these conversations, that taking anything that doesn't belong to you is not acceptable.
Right.
If it doesn't belong to you in any scope, it is not yours. You cannot hold on to it.
Right. Absolutely.
So for instance, one day, Madison was still in a stroller,
mm-hmm.
and we went into the Gap, and it was Baby Gap, and she took like a little, they had a little doll, like, I don't know, it was a little puppy or something that. She took it and she was playing with it while, she was in her stroller. I think she might have just taken it off a table or whatever. And, I'm strolling around Baby Gap, and mm-hmm. then we leave. And I don't know, probably I'm on the other side of the mall, and I look down and I see that she has the puppy. And I said, okay, so we have to turn around. We have to go back to the Gap, and we have to give this back to them. And she's like, why? We're already on the other side of the mall. And I said, because it does not belong to us. Even if it's $4.99, that's not our $4.99. It has to be returned. So for me, that was a lesson.
It was instilling in her mind at an early age.
And
absolutely.
Even at, their ages now, like the other day, I was in a home goods store and I bought a little glass box, and the glass box was a large size, and it had a smaller glass box inside of it, which was a smaller version of it. And when I took it to the register, I didn't know that the box was inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I paid my $29.99 and left the store. And I was with Madison. And when I got home and I'm unpackaging it, I realized that the smaller box was inside of it.
Right.
I got Madison in the car, and we drove back to Home Goods to return it. And she's 16. I already think that she understands and whatnot. But as parents, we have to lead by example.
Absolutely.
And that's my point. You instill certain values in them from a young age, and you continuously show them that those values still hold up throughout life. Because I can't tell you, I remember growing up in Brooklyn, I can't tell you how many kids I knew that boosted.
Right.
That would go into, at the time it was Macy's, would go into a Macy's with a brown paper bag. They would line it with aluminum foil, and they would throw clothes in it and walk out. The sensors wouldn't go off because the aluminum foil, I guess, would block the signal. And most of my friends that stole got caught.
Right.
They got caught. I mean, it was like bowling pins. One was going down after the next, and it was crazy. And it's like, now that's on your record because you're 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And now, you have something on your juvie record. You have to go before a judge. Right. I know kids that did it in college, and now it's on your permanent record.
Right.
And now you go to get a job, and now you have to be ashamed that you have something like that on your record. Mm-hmm. You got to explain it. It's something that's permanent. So I always wanted to make sure that our kids knew, like, that's not something that you ever want to do. The little $30 that you make out with, the $100 that you make out with, whatever the value of whatever you stole could never be worth the consequences that you have to pay if you get caught. And what usually winds up happening is that people do it once, they don't get caught. They do it twice, they don't get caught. They do it 3 times. Now it kind of becomes like, that's how people turn into kleptomaniacs, because you do it for a long time and you never get caught. And then when you don't get caught, you think that you can just go into any store. And then it's like, well, you know what? I can't go into a store without coming out on the upside, without getting something that I didn't pay for. And that's kind of how it evolves. Mm-hmm. So I just think that it's very important that we parent and we take our parenting very seriously, because kids fall into all types of traps.
Absolutely. But again, rest in peace to Junior, and condolences to his family, his mother, his father, his siblings. you just don't want his death to be in vain. You want it to people to get something out of it, like, you know, gang violence, the whatever it may be, to help your brother or sister if you see him out there. You know, every time I look at him, I just think of our child. I just think of Logan, and I'm like, this is sad. It could have been anybody's kid. It's just an innocent kid.
It could have been anybody's
kid, you know?
Kid. And I think that's why it hurts everybody so badly, because who he is as a young teenager represents all of our young teenagers.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why so many people are in shambles over it. Yeah. You know, it's like, you look like that could have been anybody's child.
Yeah, and you know, it's crazy. I see his smile. I see the little curly hair.
It reminds me of Logan. He reminds me of Logan.
I see him dance, and it reminds me of Logan.
That's
and I'm
why
like,
I was ruined. Like that day that it happened, and it was all over the media, all over Instagram. I was ruined for that day.
Yeah.
You know, like we couldn't have a good day.
Right.
You know, we couldn't have a good day. It was utterly heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
So I think that everybody feels the same. You want something to come out of it. You want some lessons to be learned, especially by, you know, young kids that may contemplate being in a gang, or, you know,
absolutely.
You want people to look at it like, wow, that was so horrible. I never want to be involved in anything like that, or in any type of group of people that could decide someone's destiny.
Absolutely. And like you said, we have to dive deeper into, you know, why this happened, you know. And again, rest in peace to Junior, and, you know, condolences again to his family.
Him and his family every day since. So my sincere condolences to any member of his family and anyone that knew him.
Absolutely. And, you know, we're going to try to make a change, and we're going to start this Sunday, and we're going to try to bring more programs, more things to communities where kids can think outside of gangs and think, hey, I want to play basketball, I want to play baseball, I want to be a rapper, I want to be a DJ, I want to be, you know, a doctor, a lawyer. We're going to try to bring those programs to, you know, more communities where they can. And this Sunday we're going to have a basketball tournament, and we're going to start this Sunday. Shout out to Scott LaRock Jr., and hopefully we can get a lot of those Bronx artists out there to join.
I just want to say one more thing before we wrap. You just said that, and it was so simple, but it struck something in my mind. You said in communities, and that's really what it is. I think that a lot of neighborhoods are losing the sense of community. You know, a community is where, you know, people live together, you know, in a neighborhood, and they look after each other.
Right.
They help each other. You know, if something is going left, you know, you have the community there to pull it back right.
Right.
You know, and now I feel like we're kind of losing a sense of community. Like when I was growing up, there was like a neighborly feeling, and there were gangs and stuff then. I'm not saying that there wasn't, but in our neighborhoods, there was a neighborly feeling. Like, you know, the house 4 houses down from my house, like that mother or that father would get on my ass if I was doing something wrong out in the street.
Right.
And my parents would get on another neighbor's child's ass if they were doing something wrong out in the street, whether it's dressing inappropriately, using bad language, picking on somebody, whatever it was. There was like a sense of community. And I feel like that's kind of slipping now. That might be a major component that, because of the lack of it, kids that maybe don't have strong families or father figures or mother figures, because girls go down a completely different road because they may not have a mother in the household or an aunt to look after them. You know, there's a whole list of problems that could arise because of that. You know, things that go on in the home really affect who we wind up being. Right. You know, so if you see that a household is lacking something, like, you're right, it's our job to kind of try to fill in a sense as much as we can. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, when you said that, it really just kind of struck something in me. Yeah, it really is about, in part, community.
Absolutely. Well, rest in peace again, and condolences one more time. And We'll see you guys in the Bronx on Sunday. And also, July 27th, we are doing our live podcast. Would love to see you guys there. You can hit up Ticketmaster.com or SonyHall.com. Just search the KC Crew. July 27th is a Friday night. We're going to do comedy. We're going to do our podcast. Shout out to Major Hype. He's going to be performing. Rip Michaels will be there. So get your tickets now. We want to see all
you Caribbean people out there because you guys will especially have a good time. Some other people might not be able to understand. It's comedy. I don't know. But if you have a Caribbean friend, bring them with you.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys in a couple of days for the next podcast. And hopefully you get your tickets and we'll see you July 27th. All right. Well, I'm DJ Envy.
And I am Gia Casey.
And that was an edition of Pillow Talk with the KC Crew.
Toodles.